Welcome to Core Performance Resilient Leadership Series, where brilliant, resilient leaders share uncommon secrets and strategies to succeeding in life and business. Now, here's your host, Julie.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Julie Hutchinson, founder and CEO of Core Performance and creator of the Resilient Leadership Series, where I get the honor of interviewing fascinating, big-hearted leaders who have brilliant minds and are resilient in the face of adversity. Today, I have the honor of introducing Chris Waters of Waters International Realty. Chris is the founder and CEO of Waters, and he started as a real estate agent helping families and investors buy and sell property in Central Texas. In 2015, he began expanding and opened branches across the United States. He also co-authored the book, The $1 Million Real Estate Team, with his business partner, Bradley Pounds. Chris's other ventures include advisory roles in Mint-titled WHD Investments, WIR Publishing, and RealSync. Chris, welcome. Really happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Julie. Excited to be on your podcast.
Yeah, thank you. And you've been very successful in your business. You've been very prominent. You've really grown your business from starting from scratch. And in working with you, I know that you have a very authentic leadership style. And I see that you stay very true to your values and your mission while you lead. And having this kind of skill set has helped you become really successful and making a really big difference in how you lead and live your life, especially in today's world. So I'd love to hear from you a little bit about your style and leadership, what sets you apart as a leader, how have you grown your business to become so successful?
Yeah, so first off, I would say my leadership style is more of a servant leadership style. I typically, fortunately or unfortunately, sometimes put other people's needs and requirements, if you will, above my own, and sometimes it can bite me in the butt and be to the detriment of the organization. So, I come from very much a coaching capacity in terms of trying to lead people through a path of self-discovery to help them, accomplish their end goal. And when I hire people for the organization, I try to find folks that are, their goals are in alignment with the goals of the organization and what that role requires. But, sometimes we find out through that self-discovery process, in fact, what that person came on board to do and what they said was a priority for them. They actually go through a learning experience themselves and realize it's actually not as important as they thought. And so that'd be an example of when, we have to sometimes, not, I don't want to say boot people out the door, but it's, help people realize maybe they're not in the right place, and they would be better suited somewhere else. And this is just very much a self-discovery process. It's not us telling somebody you should do this or you should do that. So anyways, to answer your question, I'm a coach at heart and a servant leader, as I said, fortunately and unfortunately at times, because sometimes it can kick you in the butt. But I think in the long run, it ultimately gives you a competitive advantage because you build an organization of people that know you've got their back, and you're the type of person to bend over backwards to help support them. And I've always said the only advantage any company has over another is not intellectual property or some proprietary technology or whatever. It's ultimately the people within the organization. When you compare companies like Google and Microsoft, yes, they have IP, but truly the only thing that makes one greater than the other are the people within the organization. So, specifically with technology, things are constantly changing and innovating. And so, in a year's time, whatever technology you built could be potentially outdated. And so if you've got a really innovative, creative, hardworking team, they're going to be well positioned to out innovate the competition. So is that
Yeah, it sounds like at the heart of what you guys do is your culture and finding the right fit of people. And I love what you said about it's self-discovery. It's not, you're not really telling them how to do things or how to be. You're leading them and guiding them from a servant leadership point of view and a coaching point of view. And so I love that is your culture during the interview process. It sounds like that's probably one of the foremost things that you talk about is this is the type of culture we have, and you're looking to see if people will fit into that culture.
Right. I mean, we have extremely high standards, and so a lot of people that get in the real estate industry, for example, have this idea of getting in it because of the flexibility it can offer. And there are a lot of real estate brokerage organizations that have that type of business model where the brokerage is more focused on agent count versus agent productivity. And that's just not how we operate. And so, sometimes like the people we hire, they have to go through a learning experience to understand, understand what those standards are. Sometimes at the interview, when you set expectations, it, just goes over their head, unfortunately. And so, speaking to culture, we've essentially identified three things that we have to gauge when they go through our 90-day agent boot camp. And the very first thing in the first 30 days that we have to identify is, from a distance, how do they make other people feel? So in the sales game, 80% of your results is your mindset. And so your job as a sales leader is to surround your team with other people that are high energy, optimistic, hardworking, perseverant, resourceful. And there's actually a great book out there I love called Culture Code. And actually the author talked about how one of the earliest indicators of success of a team is how each person feels about one another. And that's more important than any individual's skills or strengths. So in the first 30 days, we kind of look, we're teaching them very like tactical stuff and, doing what you would expect, getting a salesperson going, helping them with scripting, objection handling, presentation skills, things like that. But the thing we're really looking for in the first 30 days is not how many homes they can sell, because quite honestly, it's too early to tell in the first 30 days. It's how do they make other people feel? And the way we track that is by looking at them, just kind of observing from a distance of each person's interactions with their peers. And I'm sure the people you've met where they sit in a training room and they kind of play devil's advocate to everything the trainer is talking about, and it's kind of off-putting. It's just a low energy that is getting put out to the room, if you will. And then you notice others that are very complimentary of their peers, and you'll see them hold the door for somebody, or they're giving a high five. Like those behavioral moments you can kind of catch from a distance. Those are the positive cues that are going to create that positive mindset. So that's really the first thing we're looking for in the first 30 days is, are they a good culture fit? It really seems like, from a leadership perspective, your ability to shape culture is very limited, and it's very limited to the onboarding process, and then kind of like a farmer, as time progresses, you have to be able to pluck the weeds, if you will, the ones that maybe something happens to them externally that puts them in a bad place from a headspace perspective, and they start having a negative impact on the energy of the team. And so those are really the two limited places. It's the onboarding, and then just trying to make sure the team is working well together. The thing that I think I've learned through failure is you can't artificially create culture. 10 years ago, I remember hosting these. We would rent these big buses, and we'd go on these wine tours through the hill country. And I thought it was something I could do from the top, if you will, to help improve the feeling people had about the organization. And several days after we would go on these charter bus trips to do these wine tours, everybody, was in high spirits and felt really good, and gave everybody a great opportunity to connect with one another. And it was great, but it was kind of like a shot of caffeine. It fizzled really quickly. And so what I think I learned on the culture side is, ultimately culture gets created from the bottom up. So your job as the leader is to make sure you're onboarding the right people, and people that have similar core values. And as time progresses, making sure you kind of maintain that type of environment that is going to help people be more productive and more successful.
Very interesting that you say culture is created from the bottom up. Most people, I would say, would say that it was created from the top down. So what your uncommon belief is that it's about who you're hiring and the energy that they bring in. And I love what you said about the 80% mindset, 20% strategy, which there's been so many studies done now about that, and about how you can actually feel people's energy. We can't necessarily, see it, but there's so much more that goes on beyond the five senses, the touch, taste, smell, etc. And there's been research done that shows, and we've talked about this, the electromagnetic frequency of the heart can extend 8 to 10 feet in front of you. So they can detect with 75% accuracy what people are feeling emotionally. So like you said, if you're in a training and people are feeling stuck or overwhelmed or fearful, you can actually detect that. And so part of your coaching and what you're doing is you're really coaching to that emotional level of having people be inspired, not just a shot of caffeine like the wine tours. So this is not just about the strategy. What I'm hearing you say is this is authentically inspired to be with Waters International Realty. And so you're inspiring people from a whole different perspective, not just we're going to give you the tools and the strategies to be successful, but you're creating that culture that helps inspire people. So in that, what are some other things that you do for people to inspire that type of emotional resilience in people?
The most impactful thing we have found to help lead people to success is, we call them call jam sessions. And essentially it's when one of our sales team leaders will sit with a group of like 2 or 3 salespeople tops, no more than 2 or 3 people. And they have these little competitions and games where everybody will, get, they'll plug into their CRM, pull up all of their to-do activities and, prospective clients they need to follow up with. And it's kind of a game, and, they make it fun. We have a business intelligence reporting dashboard that tracks your number of calls and appointments set, and it's broadcasted on the TV. And so that has single-handedly been probably one of the most effective things that, help him move the needle for a salesperson. And sales, it all, as you well know, Julie, in sales, it all starts with, setting the appointments to get with people face to face. And, and then at that point, try to build rapport and, establish your expertise, differentiate yourself, get them committed to working with you, et cetera. So, Julie, I know you're a big, you like working out, and you're a very active person. And these things we call jam sessions, it reminds me of the relationship that somebody might have with a trainer at the gym. When you go and work out by yourself, we all know we're not going to push ourselves as hard as if we were paying a coach or trainer that's sitting right next to us, holding us accountable, monitoring us, and pushing us. And so for us, the very first component of moving in the needle for the salesperson and keeping them inspired is our leadership getting in the trenches with our salespeople and literally sitting next to them, helping coach and guide them along the way as they're sitting there actively building their pipeline, setting appointments with new clients. So that's probably one of the most effective things we've done in terms of moving the needle for folks. Getting in the trenches with them.
What I find interesting is that you're talking about this leadership and coaching, and you're talking about these fun call jam sessions. And it sounds like people are coming into these sessions high spirited, ready to go. And as the leaders are in the trenches, I love that they're coaching. They're not managing. And there's a big difference between managing, leading, and coaching. And so throughout this whole conversation with you, what I'm hearing about your leadership team and your philosophy is that we help people become better. We help them discover what's inside of themselves. And what you're doing as a culture is you're pulling out those beautiful things inside of them that makes them better. And you're highlighting those, and you're coaching and you're mentoring. And I had read an article recently that most millennials getting into the job market today are getting in looking for that mentorship, looking for that coach. They're not looking for a manager. They're looking for somebody that can help bring their best versions of themselves out. And it sounds like that's what you guys do there.
Yeah, I don't actually believe you can manage people. In fact, when we do our like one-on-one accountability meetings with salespeople or even operating staff, the whole meeting is about them. What are your weekly, monthly, and quarterly goals specific to your job? What are your weekly, monthly, quarterly goals specific to your contribution to the organization? What are your goals specific to your financial, responsibilities and needs and et cetera? And then what are your weekly, monthly, and quarterly goals specific to things for you personally, like outside of the workplace? So we try to just be an overall like accountability partner in terms of just helping everybody level up. And I read something this morning about how accountability is the truest form of love, I think it was, or something along those lines. So it's kind of interesting. We have this other exercise we do in our organization, and they're called self-directed accountability groups. And there's it's made up of each self-directed accountability group is made up of about 5 to 7 people, and there's a facilitator for those 5 to 7 people, and everybody goes around the room and shares publicly what their commitment is for the week. And it doesn't even necessarily have to be something sales related. It's just something that they're personally committing to for the following week. Maybe it's going to the gym every day. Maybe it's not eating fast food. Maybe I remember hearing a guy on our team say he was committing to do the dishes every day of the week for his wife.
Bet his wife loved that.
Yeah. And so, at the following week's meeting, for example, the facilitator has a list of questions. So, for example, did you follow through with your commitment? And everybody's saying yes or no. And if somebody says no, they didn't follow through the commitment, there's a list of questions we use, which is this path of self-discovery I mentioned before. For example, asking the person, what did you learn about yourself by not following through with this commitment? So we take them through this, the facilitator takes them through a path of self-discovery to see if maybe that priority is not as important as they actually thought it was. So the whole point of like our self-directed accountability groups and our one-on-one accountability meetings is most of it's not even specific to their job, like, actually, making calls, meeting clients, etc. A lot of it's just about helping them level up in whatever way possible to improve their mindset. So, for example, the guy I mentioned that said he was going to commit to doing the dishes every day of the week. The reason that was important to him was because every day he got home, he and his wife were getting in an argument over the dishes because he said he would do it and then he didn't follow through. And so that would like nag on him when he came into the office mentally, and was just a drain on him. And so that was his motivation behind helping his wife, so that he could indirectly perform at a higher level in the office. And so that's yeah.
You have a real holistic approach to leadership and the self-directed accountability groups. And I hadn't heard that accountability is the truest form of love. And as you talk about this and these groups, I can see that, because that path to self-discovery is, what did you learn about yourself? There's no make wrong. And it gives people the freedom to tell the truth. No, I didn't live up to my commitment. What did you learn about that? It almost relaxes people in the fact that I'm learning about myself, and I'm only disappointing myself if I don't follow through with this. And so you're leveling people up to improve that accountability of their word and their mindset, which overall, we know that if something doesn't work in our personal lives, just like the man that didn't do the dishes, when it bleeds over into his business life. And so all these domains touch each other. And so what I hear you saying that you do in your leadership style is you're teaching people how to have that authenticity thread throughout every domain of their life. And you're guiding them to do that. And that's going to spill over into how they do their business.
Yes, I'd also argue to say, I don't know if you've ever seen that show on TV called The Biggest Loser.
I know about it, but I haven't really watched it.
Yeah, I've seen a few episodes, and they take people that are overweight and try to take them through boot camp to help them lose weight really quickly, and they get some really impressive results. And one of the things they do on that show is they make the people basically like take their shirt off, and they're wearing spandex, and they're in front of the whole, like, all of their peers, and they step on this scale, and their weight gets displayed publicly to all their peers, not to mention it's broadcasted on national TV. But the point is like, when you think about what helps people take, or what can cause accountability to kind of go to that next level. And one-on-one accountability can go pretty far, but like when you get your peers involved and multiple people that know what your goals or commitments are, that's really when accountability can go to the next level. Because if, for example, you're walking around the office and everybody knows what your commitment is, people in passing are asking you like, hey, did you go to the gym today? Hey, did you stay away from fast food? Like whatever your commitment is. And so it kind of just puts each person on stage so that they feel like their commitment is to to a much larger peer group than just, maybe a team leader, for example.
Well, and you really start to understand the level of resilience that somebody has in that, because if you find that they're not living up to their commitments and they're continuously falling down in that, you know that they're not a fit anyway. And if they continuously excel and live up to their commitments, it sounds like those are the kind of people that you desire to have in your culture.
Yep.
So really beautiful.
I think when you start putting these things in place, people voluntarily exit the organization.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'd say probably one of the hardest challenges for anybody trying to build a sales organization is, if you are building a sales organization with incredibly high standards, I'm talking substantially above industry standards, like 5, 6, 7x above industry standards from a sales productivity perspective. You're looking for a very special individual, and if you can put a framework in place that kind of exudes the core values of the organization through various activities, you'll find most people pretty quickly will walk themselves out the door. But to the point I was alluding to earlier, it's very tough to build a sales organization when you do have high standards. If I commonly think about our process, or I call it a funnel, our funnel of like identifying talent. I kind of think about it kind of like how in the military you have the Navy SEALs In the nonprofit world, there's an organization called Teach for America. In the finance world, you've got, companies like Goldman Sachs, and all of these organizations. The one thing they all, I guess I could give off so many examples, like Harvard, for example. But the one thing all these organizations have in common is they all have this funnel in place. And what I mean is they have, for example, at the top of the funnel, the widest part of the funnel, they have, thousands or tens of thousands of people apply. And then as you work your way down that funnel and you go through the interview process and maybe even like the boot camp, for example, for the military, a very small number of people drop out of the bottom of that funnel and actually make it and become, members of the organization. And so, like for example, in I think it's the Navy SEALs, their, dropout rate is 70%. So from top to bottom, that's the total number of people that actually, uh, get, actually become Navy SEALs, right? They have 1,000. They'll, over the course of like, I don't know, a year, 2 years, they'll have 1,000 soldiers go through the Navy SEAL training, and 300 of them will make it. And then those 1,000 that actually attended, like there were thousands more that didn't even get to show up to the training.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's a proven, I think it's a proven uh, strategy to find really high caliber talent, but it definitely can, uh, you know, I think one of the biggest challenges about it is just seeing a revolving door. You just, as the leader of that organization, you got to maintain kind of that mental fortitude that this is just part of the process, because you want everybody to come in and be successful. I remember, 7, 8, 9 years ago, it felt like pushing people up Mount Everest. Like I wanted success for them, 10x more than they wanted for themselves. And ultimately, what we found, and I think you would agree with, is either somebody has the internal desire to want to succeed at a high level or they don't. And you can help uncover that, and you can help push people to, achieve that faster. But if you don't internally want it, then it's, I don't think, no matter how great of a leader you are, if somebody doesn't internally want it, you're not going to be able to help them.
There might be a lot of people listening to this interview and saying, wow, this is the type of organization I would like to work with because I know I'm resilient and I know I can excel. So for those that are listening, Chris, number one, are you hiring right now?
It's so funny you asked that question. We actually, what's today? Today is beginning of August, and August 4th. And over the last, several months, I've been watching the unemployment numbers, skyrocket. I think we said earlier, I think it's north of like 50 million people or something crazy like that. And so the real estate market over the last 10 years has been extremely good to me and the organization. And so we actually are rolling out a scholarship program for anybody that is looking to get into the real estate industry. And the scholarship program will pay for a 7-course package. They're the mandated courses required by the Texas Real Estate Commission. It includes, and it's an online training program. You'll get all your workbooks and everything sent to your home. You can study and take the tests from home. There's also an exam prep course. And so we're paying for 100% of the licensing requirements for someone to become a licensed real estate salesperson in the state of Texas. And we're also going to pay for them to go through a 90-day mentorship program. And so this scholarship program, you're literally the first person to hear about this. We're rolling this out on the week of August 15th. I'm going to do a news story and News Talk Radio and a couple other shows to talk about this. But we're going to be giving away just over $500,000 in scholarships. Each scholarship is valued at $5,000 to $6,000. It includes everything you need to get started as a salesperson in the real estate industry. And the website, we actually literally just launched this yesterday, Julie. It's watersscholarship.com. And so if somebody's interested and they want to get into the real estate industry, they can go online and fill out the application. And the scholarship will be reviewing applications through the end of the year. However, we are going to start selecting. We're going to start selecting students and giving out the scholarships um, by the end of September. So we're going to award a total of 100 scholarships to Austin residents in Central Texas that are interested in getting into the real estate industry as our small little way to hopefully put people back to work. So.
Well, I love that, Chris. And just for the listeners, Waters is with 2 T's. So Waters Scholarship, WATTERS, scholarship.com. Really beautiful way to give back to the community, especially during this pandemic when so many people are out of work. Now, there may be people listening to this that do not live in Austin that say, I'm open to relocation, or can I do this from afar? If somebody is maybe listening in Colorado or New York, can they apply, and will they be considered for this even if they live out of state but are willing to relocate?
So we have franchisees throughout the United States and Canada, and so if you're looking for a scholarship opportunity, I don't want to talk too soon, but I believe I should know by the end of this week. I'm like 95% sure our entire franchise network is going to be joining in on this scholarship program. It's not going to be just our home base in Austin, Texas. So there's 2 parts to your, I guess, 2 components to your question. One is if you want to relocate to Austin because it's an amazing city and you want to get into real estate, we'd love to have you. And we would be more than happy to review your application and look at awarding you the scholarship opportunity. And then second, if you're in a market where one of our other franchise partners are, there's a high likelihood that they'll be rolling out this scholarship program as well. And you may not have to relocate. So I guess it's ultimately what your goals are.
And if somebody has a goal to eventually own a franchise, is there opportunities for them to rise up in the organization to have their own franchise with Waters?
Exactly. Our mission statement is to help create a clear and unambiguous career trajectory path for real estate agents. And it's for anybody that's in the real estate industry or anybody looking from the outside, it's very difficult to figure out what that roadmap looks like in terms of how to develop your skills. And then, for example, once you become kind of an expert from a skills perspective as an agent, where do you go from there? What if you don't want to be an agent forever and you want to help, lead other agents and mentor other agents and maybe start your own office, for example. There's really not a clear path to do it, and that's ultimately why we're in business. Is our goal is to create that clear career trajectory for folks that can develop the skills to be a great salesperson, but then can also go and become leaders and even open up their own brokerages. And so our business model is really predicated on helping people to level up within the industry and follow their aspirations.
Sounds like an incredible opportunity for people. So if anybody is listening out there that would like to explore this, go to watersscholarship.com. And Chris, can you say your main website as well if they want to just explore some stuff about Waters International?
Yeah, if they want to look into the actual franchise, program, let me just double check the website here because we just changed our website.
And as you're doing this, I also would like to mention to our listeners, I highly recommend the book, The $1 Million Real Estate Team by Chris and his partner, Bradley Pounds. Excellent book. I've had the opportunity to read it, and there's just all kinds of incredible information in there. The other thing too, Chris, that I know about you is, you do offer a lot of coaching. You have a whole coaching program that you help other real estate agents. And you and Bradley have that coaching program. So if anybody is out there saying, I'd like to get into a new industry, or I'd like to grow my knowledge in real estate and really expand who I am, do deeper self-discovery, and make an incredible living while I'm doing it, helping people find their dream homes or even sell homes to move into their dream homes, highly recommend Christopher Waters and his team.
Thank you, Julie. The website, if anybody would like to learn about the franchise, is wirsystems.com, wirsystems.com. So what's a little bit different about what we're doing from a franchising perspective is it's really not about the brand. Like, it's not about somebody adopting our brand. It's about somebody adopting this business in a box of proven systems, processes, and technology to help them grow. And we're ultimately trying to help them grow their own brand, and give them the blueprint, the roadmap, and all the assets needed to do that. And so they can go learn more about it at wirsystems.com. And Brad and I do some coaching and training from a national perspective for people outside of the franchise network. One of our, we've got two really popular courses we have a lot of people going through. One is our CEO Masterclass, which is specifically made for real estate agents. If there's anybody that has ever heard of Robert Kiyosaki, he wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Something Robert Kiyosaki said is, a lot of people that are 1099 or independent contractors, they own a job. They don't actually own a business. And so it's a very difficult transition to go from owning a job to owning a business. And so specific to the real estate industry, we created a 3-month course that kind of walks people through the steps of how they can start strategically putting things in place to building a foundation so that they're working more on the business versus being in the business, and then generating leverage for themselves by hiring others, and ultimately having building a really highly productive team with leaders in place, and having a real business that can run without you. And so we teach a lot of those things through our CEO Masterclass. If anybody checks out my Instagram, you can kind of get an overview of that through Instagram. And I've got my little link tree on my Instagram profile, and also on Facebook and social media, all my social media pages.
Sounds like a great class. And I'm sure there's probably people listening that are saying, well, that sounds like a great class, yet I'm not looking to get into real estate. Can people take that class even if they're not in real estate?
Great question. So I think a lot of people in other industries could learn a lot from it, but to be brutally honest, it is very much, we get really nitty gritty about how it applies very specifically to the real estate brokerage industry. So I have no doubt in my mind somebody could learn it. Anybody that's running like a sales and service driven business would learn a lot. We basically put 10 years worth of our biggest ahas from failing over and over into this course. And I think, if you're in insurance, or there's a lot of different industries, I think that could learn a lot from it. But I want to be brutally honest with people. We do get pretty nitty gritty to the, and specific to the real estate brokerage industry.
Fantastic. And you sound like you really do give a lot away to people as far as the coaching and stuff. Do you ever worry about a competitor coming in and taking that class and taking some of the trade secrets and applying it to what they're doing?
No. The thing is as time progresses, there's always, newer and better ways to do things. And so our group, our main headquarters in Austin, Texas, is kind of like our R&D lab. And so, our systems, our processes, they're constantly getting tweaked and refined as time progresses. And so if somebody goes through that course and thinks they're going to, basically go copy and paste what we've done, they may be able to copy and paste it for a year, but we will have been throughout that year innovating and finding new ways to do business and improve. And so really the only way, somebody over the long run could, adopt a lot of the things we learn out of our R&D lab, if you will, is to be a franchise partner. And I think there are some key principles we teach in the CEO Masterclass that, I don't think we're, reinventing the wheel or saying something that hasn't been said before. It's a lot of stuff focused on how to be a better leader. And, we talk about the funnel I mentioned earlier about recruiting and selecting talent and how to train and lead and motivate them. So, these are all things that, honestly, we've picked up from, going through training programs and coaching programs and things like that. So, I've had a lot of people ask me that question before, and I guess just maybe it's just how I am. I just come from an abundance mindset, and I just, there's a lot of business out there. So, we're not, we're not Tesla. We're not Google. There's not a lot of, things we're doing from like a pure technology, perspective. We're a sales organization that helps consumers, find their dream home or sell their home and move on to a next chapter in their life. And so, people have been teaching sales for, 100 plus years. So, I think that there are some nuances though, and that's the kind of stuff that comes out of our R&D lab, and it's outside of the sales training stuff, more on like, different technology applications we use, and maybe just new systems we develop to do things more efficiently. We have a really great, I think we have a really great presentation we go through with homeowners when we meet with them to sell their home. And some of our unique value propositions that we offer would be incredibly difficult for the average person to go and replicate. Not to say it couldn't be done, but it would be really, really difficult. So, what's interesting is most people, with how we've actually found most of our franchise partners, is they have gone through the CEO Masterclass and they learned so much and, grew so much in such a short time period. They reach out to us and they say, like, how can I start adopting everything you guys are doing and stay up to date on all of your latest and greatest innovations to, push the envelope in the residential real estate brokerage industry? And that's when we talk to them about a franchise opportunity.
So much opportunity in your business, so much. And you really seem to have that holistic approach of mindset, strategy. You've got the business in a box. It's an opportunity that if somebody is really looking to get into this business, I can't think of a better real estate agency or brokerage than Christopher Waters. And Chris, it's just such a pleasure to have you on here. I can see why you are so successful, and I can see your mindset, your abundance mindset, I think really says it all, right? Mindset is so much of what we do. And when you walk in with an abundance mindset and you have the strategies in place, of course you're going to be successful. It's been a pleasure to have you on this show. It's been a pleasure to watch you succeed and see your team grow. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the next couple of years with your organization and with the people and with everybody growing. So thank you so much for being on today. And again, if anybody would like more information, check out Christopher Waters on Instagram. Look at watersscholarship.com, wirsystems.com. And Chris, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Honestly, send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm frequently checking my messages on there, and that's probably the easiest and fastest way to get hold of me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Chris, and look forward to talking with you in the near future.
Thanks, Julie.
Okay, take care.
Thanks for listening to the Resilient Leadership Series. To learn more about Julie and Core Performance, go to www.coreperformance.us and be sure to join our private Facebook group, Leaders Without Limits. We will see you next time.